What's my favorite Warren Buffett stock to buy in March? I'm going to answer that question in this video. I'm also going to support why I prefer this specific stock to buy versus the others. I'm going to show you the things that I look at, the things that attracted to me to this stock. So let's get right into it. Of course, Warren Buffett in his Berkshire Hathaway portfolio of over $300 billion owns 49 stocks, but my favorite out of the 49 stocks he holds is MasterCard. MasterCard is my favorite Warren Buffett stock to buy in March, and let me show you guys why I like it, what attracts me to this stock. So, if I look at MasterCard's revenue growth over the last decade, I don't see this kind of phenomenal, uh, you know, 80% revenue growth or anything like that, right? Which is fine with me. I typically don't look for these hyper growth type of stocks. I focus more on profitability metrics and valuation and upward trending lines in terms of operating profits and cash flow and things like that. So revenue growth is not necessarily my top most critical metric to look at, but still I like to see revenue growth. And MasterCard demonstrated very nice revenue growth over the last decade, sometimes reaching over 20% in a quarter and jumping, of course, during the pandemic, and then even most recently at 11.52%. Another interesting thing about MasterCard is that it is going to benefit from inflation. So if inflation continues to persist at high levels, MasterCard stands to benefit from that trend. So I like that MasterCard will give me some inflation protection in my portfolio. How does it do that? Well, MasterCard takes a percentage of all of the transactions that happen using a MasterCard card. So if you go to buy your, typical grocery trip where you buy a certain amount of things and usually that costs you, let's say, $100 for the week, now because of inflation you're paying $115. Well, MasterCard will take more of that revenue, right? Typically it takes like 3% of the transaction amount. So instead of getting $3 on 100, it will get $3.15 on $115 in sales. So it gets incrementally more revenue from incrementally higher sales nominal levels. And so as inflation goes up, it's just a way for MasterCard to automatically boost its revenue without doing anything, right? It's already built into its network. It's built into how it charges its partners. And so it just automatically increases its own revenue when inflation goes up. The next metric that I like about MasterCard is this incredible operating profit margin. I mean, you are hardly going to find this kind of operating profit margin of 57.21% in any company around the world. I implore you to go try to search for companies that have an operating profit margin at 57.21% or higher. It's going to be hard to find. This is one of the reasons why I love MasterCard stock. Look at that. And it's not only extremely high, but it's been moving on an upward trend. So if we go back to 2014, it was closer to 54%. Now it's up to 57%. So it's incrementally moving higher from an already extremely high level. I love that about this stock. I love that it is so profitable. I the the difficult part about Mastercard's business was like 3 decades ago when it had to build out this network of merchants that were willing to accept its cards and folks that were willing to sign up for Mastercard uh, cards to use, right? That was the risky part of the business, building out that network. Now that it's built out that network, it's going to be difficult for anyone to encroach on that business. And it's even more attractive to me because its main rival, Visa, right? It's MasterCard and Visa, the two main card companies in the world. They're not in this fierce competition, right? They're just kind of like, okay, we're going to charge our merchants 3%, and that's just what they're going to have to pay. That's it. We're not going to say, oh, you're doing 3%, I'm going to do 2.5. Oh, you're doing 2.5, I'm going to do 2. You're doing 2, I'm going to do 1.5. They're not racing to the bottom in offering better terms to their clients, to their merchants, in order to attract customers, right? That would be good for customers, but that would not be good for investors. So the fact that they're not in fierce competition, I really like that. That attracts me. If you've been following my channel, you know I do not like to invest in industries with fierce competition. And MasterCard and Visa are certainly nowhere near fierce competition. And I really like that. And this is where it shows up in its operating margins. When there is little competition, you start to see these kinds of margins. But when you have industries with fierce competition, is where you start to see those companies that are losing a ton of money on the bottom line, talking about how 7 years later we might reach profitability, right? That might be good for some investors. That's not what I'm looking for. I like to see this, and this is why one of the reasons why MasterCard is my favorite Warren Buffett stock to buy for March. Look at the earnings per share. Look at that. I love to see this. Trailing 12-month earnings per share from less than $3 in 2014 all the way up to $10.69 in its most recent trailing 12 months. Cash flow from operations to sales, an incredible 50.34%, also nicely upward moving from around 45% in 2014 all the way up to 50%. So up, the absolute levels are high and the trend is moving in the right direction. Everything I like to see. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. And finally, the stock is not terribly expensive. It's not even expensive, I would say. It's trading at a forward price to earnings ratio of 29, near the lowest you've been able to buy this stock at. Look at the valuation has been coming down. And you're getting an incredible business at this valuation. I see people paying ridiculous price to earnings ratios for companies that are yet to even turn a profit, or maybe they will turn a profit someday. When you have choices like MasterCard, a company that's delivered profits for the last decade, showing improving performance, improving earnings, improving cash flow, improving everything, and you're able to buy it at a reasonable valuation. To me, this is what I like about MasterCard stock. It's one of my favorite Warren Buffett stocks to buy in March. I own MasterCard stock, so I've bought it, and I really, it's one of my favorite stocks to buy. So out of Warren Buffett's portfolio, this is my favorite. All right, so thank you for watching. If you want a bigger list of stocks to buy in March, I'm going to link to that up here, or maybe up here. So click on that and I will see you over there. Thanks for watching.